Hey, if you're putting in work in the gym and with your nutrition for a fat loss goal that you've been working towards to get summer ready, and you're not seeing results like this warrior who's on a 7 week fat loss streak going from 189.89 to 182.5 on average, then you're going to want to stick around as I dive deep into exactly how he was able to accomplish this and how everyone at Infinite has accomplished this using our gamified holistic fitness operating system. If this is your first time seeing my face, then welcome. It's great to meet you virtually. My name is Walt Chambers, and I am the founder, lead designer, and master wizard at Infitnite, where we help business owners and gamers transform their life by unlocking infinite motivation, growth, health, and achievement using our holistic fitness gamification system. I'm excited to dive into exactly the methodology on how we've been able to generate these results with Santiago here, who is on his Warrior Mentorship Adventure at Infitnite, working one-on-one with myself. But I wanted to kind of share our three main holistic aspects that we have been implementing, which is combat, alchemy, and intellect. Combat is the physical aspects, alchemy is the nutritional, and intellect is the mental. And there are some specific statistics that we are keeping track of, starting in combat. So what we do throughout the mentorship process and what he's been incorporating since the beginning of this mentorship experience is weight tracking. So tracking your weight is probably one of the most important things that you could do when it comes to your fat loss goals. Simply because the weight that you see or the number that you see on the scale alone is meaningless. It's all about taking the average and measuring the trend of your weight loss. So for example, if we went into week 1 right here and we just measured his weight on this Thursday at 184.9, and then we measured it only on this Sunday at 186.1, that means if we just took those two numbers, they went up, which means it's going to make you feel like, okay, I'm not making progress, my weight went up. But the real number that we're looking at is the average here, right? And the average has gone down in this scenario. And this big weight loss streak occurred after taking a week vacation here, right? He got up to 189, and then week after week, we bumped it down. So part of the way that we use gamification is we do progress tracking, like in mini games. Mini games, you track your progress, you track your statistics, and you're aware of all these things that are changing and all these things that you have control of. So over here is another statistic that we track in the combat attribute, step count. As you can see here, step count was about less than 11K, and then it has increased and decreased throughout this process. But the minimum amount, the lowest amount that he's had when it comes to step count is 9,445 in the past 7 weeks. And as you can see, he's now hit a new high when it comes to his step count, hitting on average 14,000. And this is how he progressed up to this point. He did not start with this. His step count was much, much lower, and he progressed week after week and week after week to get to this point. And that's essentially the game that you want to play, is understanding, cool, like what are the areas can I add more activity in? And sometimes it can be indirect, like step count, like just moving around naturally at work or throughout the day and things like that. So this is just another statistic that we keep track of in the combat category here. So we gauge his activity level, and when it comes to fat loss, it's about, burning more than you're consuming on bottom line, right? And if we can monitor and see that trend in that activity, then we have control over it. Because the big thing is, if you can't measure it, you can't change it. period. You won't really know whether it's serving you or not, and you won't have control over changing it. And you can't use that as a weapon to go into combat and be successful and win the battle. So, other than that, we also have cardio as well. We have total minutes of cardio performed. This is intentional cardio in the form of either walking, biking, cycling, whatever that may be. That is intentional cardio-based movement. It's not fidgeting around. It's not walking around at work. It is intentional cardio that's performed, at any time throughout the day, either first thing in the morning, either post workout, and even in some rare circumstances pre-workout, and we keep track of that. And as you can see, it has been trending upwards, and on average he went from 21 minutes to 32. So not much of a big difference in the cardio department when it comes to daily intentional cardio. And as you can see, it has gone up and down throughout this process, and he still was able to reduce his body weight week after week, week after week, as you can see. So that being said, there's still two more warrior attributes that we keep track of, and arguably the most important of both of them when it comes to the majority of the weight loss and fat loss results is nutrition, or what we call is alchemy. So here's a brief look into alchemy, and something I also didn't mention is that we also set objectives every single week so that you are actually heading in a direction, and that you're working towards something. Just like in a lot of games, especially story-based games where you're going through a story and there's a lot of things to do and there's quests and things, activities to complete. You track these objectives in order to complete these quests. So in a way, every single week we set these benchmarks or these opportunities to really pinpoint the key areas that are going to drive the most growth in this particular area. And we do that for each one of our three warrior attributes: combat, alchemy, and intellect, which kind of comes together into our whole holistic approach to things. So one of the statistics is calories, which is arguably the most important when it comes to driving that consistent weight loss results. And as you can see, it has gone up and down, and in this overall journey when it comes to calories, is week after week was based off of progress. And you can actually draw correlations between his activity level and the amount of calories that he was getting. So we can go back into, let's say, for example, week 6 over here, right? Week 6 over here, he had over 1,900 calories, right? Over here, let's go back to combat and check out what happened in week 6. As you can see, he went from 188 to 186. So he saw more weight loss and he ate more. How is that possible? What? Is this some magic, Walt? Partially, yes. I am a wizard. But look at what happened in week 6. He had one of the highest step count averages compared to all the weeks prior. 13,594 steps compared to the week before, 9,500, and this previous week, 13,414. But he had more activity in the step count department. Boom. So more activity, basically more calories burnt. And why was he more active? Well, he had more calories. He had more energy, and that's essentially what it is on a physiological level. It's just energy, right? But this is just one example in how we kind of cross-reference all this data and actually use this information to drive progress and results moving forward. Like, if you're not doing this to a certain level of capacity, at least with your body weight, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're kind of heading in a blind direction, not even knowing whether or not you're making progress, or what progress is, and also how to even change it, right? Again, if you can't measure it, you can't change it. It's like time, right? You can't measure at what time it is. How are you going to have control over it? How are you going to have practice better time management? How are you going to show up on time if you don't know what time it is, right? So think about it like that. But back to some of the other statistics that we track here when it comes to alchemy. Protein, which is the most important, the first thing to focus on when it comes to your level of importance, while calories are the things that determine truly, on average, whether or not you're maintaining a what we call as a deficit, right? And as just like the example before, he actually ate the most of calories and he moved more, and he was able to lose the most amount of weight in that 1 week period. Remember that. But protein was a huge number one. It was a struggle of week after week in the beginning, and then we were able to get in a nice consistent uptrend starting from week 7 here, making sure he maintains all of his muscle, making sure that he's also recovering after his workouts and things like that. So protein, one of the most important things, and that has been part of that growth journey, ranking up that protein skill. And as you can see too, he's not on a low carb diet, right? That is not the way to approach long-term sustainable fat loss results, is low carb diets. No, it's not the way. As you can see, he's been having more than 100 grams ever since week 1 here. As you can see, it's a little backwards, this chart. I gotta fix that one up. But as you can see, he started off 136 and actually went up in carbohydrates as he was progressing, and he was able to still lose weight week after week, eating more carbohydrates. But then obviously there's ebb and flows going up and down as we're starting to make more and more progress and break through basically every single plateau. Essentially, there has not been a plateau in the past 7 weeks, as you can see, which is not normal for most people. But if you're following a gamified, holistic fitness approach, then there are no such thing as plateaus. There is just infinite growth, and that's what we teach here. And last but not least, fats over here. This is another statistic that is also important. We keep track of all those things. But last but not least, just want to go over intellect. This is one of the most underrated aspects of fitness. People just think it's just consistency. People think it's just toughness, and it's so in depth. There's so much that goes into it that most people don't consider, and there's just a few statistics that we keep track of that are complement what we're doing in our combat and in our alchemy that matter. Again, each warrior in our mentorship adventure has a unique experience where we focus on what matters the most for that individual. We don't have a one-size-fits-all approach, because we believe in flexibility. We believe in values. We believe in also establishing a warrior mindset when it comes to how you face obstacles and challenges and things in your life, and how you navigate through them, and that perspective when it comes to each one of these things. And that's why intellect is one of the most powerful warrior attributes at Infitnite. But one of those statistics that we use is the workout completion. You know, how are you showing up? Like, can you quantify that, right? How much have you showed up this past week and everything that you were doing in your workouts, right? Did you do your warm up? Like, did you complete the entire workout that you had planned? Did you do anything when it comes to recovery and prehabilitation? Like, are you even incorporating these things? And if you are you tracking whether or not you're showing up and doing it? Well, we measure that because we can change it. And as you can see, like, workout completion was low initially. And then it increased, and as it increased, guess what? Results also increased as well. And then of course there was this brief little downtrend, but if we were not tracking this, we would not have known, hey, week 8, we're actually, we're at the lowest workout completion this week. Let's change something. And look, ever since then, boom, uphill. And that's the power of tracking specific statistics in each one of these different areas. And same thing with habits, arguably one of the most important. This is really cool. His lowest habit completion is 84%. 84% of his habits were the lowest. And that's just a testament of basically what you want to be focusing on to drive the most results. Habits, right? Your physical habits, your mental habits, your nutritional habits. That's what truly drives the most growth. And as you can see, ever since, week 4 here, he's been on like a 7-week streak, because he's been able to maintain above 86% of his habits. So that's the power in that. And of course, tracking, monitoring your nutrition, understanding what you're putting inside your body. This is a very sore subject for most. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I have been coaching so many people, been mentoring so many men and women for over a decade. And this drives the most results, period. It is also the key to maintaining and sustaining your results as well, which most people don't even think about. They think about getting from point A to point B, but they don't know how to maintain your results or even continue the growth after that. And one way to do that is to improve your alchemy monitoring skill, or in other words, your nutrition tracking skill. It is a skill, okay? It's not something that as simple as just downloading an app and knowing what to do. It's learning how to show up, learning a process where you can develop the habit of tracking your nutrition, understanding how to use that information. Because most people get it wrong by just tracking random stuff, not doing it consistently, and not using that data and that information to drive more progress. And that's another thing that we teach here. That's one way that we gamify things, is we teach you the skills that are going to drive the most success. So alchemy monitoring, huge, aka nutrition tracking, because as you can see, the lowest, again, 85%. So I know what he was putting in his body. He knows what he was putting in his body, which means we were able to measure it and change it. Again, measure it and change it. And of course, cardio. Start off low, and then we showed up to our cardio sessions, and again, he's been uptrending ever since, figuring out his schedule, figuring out when he could get it in, figuring out how much time he needed to get it in, and also optimizing and improving on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis, playing the game, approaching it like a game, getting feedback, setting objectives, setting goals, setting milestones, and of course, making sure that we're making progress on a week-to-week basis. And that is just a brief, I guess, introduction into the bigger mentorship adventure. This is just something that we do once a week, where we sit down, review all this data, and we set weekly objectives, going over here, seeing which ones were fulfilled, which ones weren't, and that affects what we do for the next week. So we also think, okay, cool, here's what we want to focus on the next week as well. And as you can see, he unlocked a trophy over here. week 10. Boom, trophy unlocked. So there is big rewards if you show up and you complete the objectives, one of which is obviously results, right? But another thing is you also get this cool trophy, and you get a virtual high five from me. But yeah, that's just a little sneak peek into what we were doing. This is how this Warrior Santiago was able to go on this awesome streak. He's almost hitting his goal, only a couple pounds away from his goal, and it's so excited to see how quickly he was able to progress by implementing our gamified fitness operating system at Infitnite. So yeah, if you're struggling to produce results like this, maybe you've been on a fat loss journey in a while and you're still not quite close to where you want to be. Maybe you want to optimize how you approach nutrition, training, or your mindset to get to your next level. Or maybe you just want to turn fitness and all of this stuff that you're doing with fat loss into a game that's fun and rewarding, because that's what games are. So they're supposed to be fun and rewarding, and that's exactly what the experience that he has been going through, because if he was having a terrible time, he would not have been able to go through, at least get the results that you see here. And even if there were challenges, there is an opportunity to also navigate through those challenges better. But if you are struggling in that department, you don't have to try to figure things out on your own. I've been building these systems for over a decade. I've been working with hundreds of people, and when you add gamification into the holistic aspect of wellness, then you can produce almost seamless, effortless results, because if you can approach it like a game, you can have fun and it could be rewarding. And if this is something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to myself at infitniterpg.com. You can also follow me on Facebook. I am Walter Chambers on Facebook. You can also email me at Walt, W-A-L-T, at Infitnite, I-N-F-I-T-N-I-T-E, RPG.com, and that's Infinite, the silent T. And feel free to book a consultation, and we can chat with you, support you, and really understand where you are, what you're going through, so that we can set you up for not just short-term success in the fat loss game, but also lifelong mastery, because that's what we promote here, is the infinite game. And you can see it in our symbol. The infinite symbol is going up for the infinite growth that you can achieve in your life, because I would like to support you. My team of wizards would love to support you, and let's have fun. Let's figure out together a way for you to gamify everything so that you can achieve and unlock your ultimate potential. So again, my name is Walt Chambers, Master Wizard, founder and lead designer at Infitnite. By your side as your guide on your infinite warrior adventure. And I'll see you, hopefully, inside the infinite world on your adventure. Peace out.